Today, I'm diving into how I reverse engineered a 7-figure print-on-demand brand. I'm going to show you exactly how it works, step by step. We'll start from the funnel and go all the way through the checkout. My name is Meg Heckman, and I have now scaled 4 different Shopify print-on-demand brands, past $1 million in sales in the first year of running them. In fact, my current brand did over $200,000 last month alone. And the only reason that I have been able to move this quickly and learn as fast as I have is by studying other brands and seeing what's working for them. So in today's video, I laid out this entire brand's funnel inside of a mirror board, from the ads to the product pages and even their upsells. When you see it all in one page, you'll finally understand the full customer journey of how smart brands are driving revenue. This video is about giving you insight into how to build a successful print-on-demand brand. But before we dive in, I want to be crystal clear about something. This is not about copying anybody else. What I am about to show you is designed to help you do better research so that you can make smarter, more strategic decisions for your own brand. Copying somebody else's niche, their products, or their designs isn't just unethical, but it's ineffective. You cannot connect with an audience if you don't understand their values or their culture. So let's get into it. Now, reverse engineering brands was an absolute unlock when I finally learned how to do this, because of the fact I was able to see the full 10,000 foot view. I know I say it a lot in my videos, and I think it's hard to fully grasp what we mean by 10,000 foot view, because when we're in the process of getting a brand up and running and started, we do tend to focus on the little tiny areas, and we struggle to take that full step back and see the full picture. When I actually learned how to reverse engineer, that's when it really became clear to me, and I understood the entire journey that I'm supposed to be taking my customer on. So I hope that you get that today by going through this video. For today's video, we're going to talk about the brand Umai. Umai was started a few years ago. They've been around a little bit, but as we go through this customer journey, I want you guys to keep a few things in mind. First being the niche and the brand. We want to know who is the target audience for this brand. Who are they going after? How are they positioning themselves in the market? And what exactly are their brand pillars? And then we'll look at the products. What kind of products are they selling? What are their best sellers? Are we able to see that information by looking at their site? And how many products do they have on their site? Because that's also something that's really important. We are telling people about getting a brand up and running. We always say start with at least 100 designs. And I think people think that Chris and myself are absolutely crazy by suggesting this. But then we'll do a deep dive into a brand like this and we'll see, oh, they've got a couple thousand designs. So really 100 designs is just a drop in the bucket. And then we move on to the site. What are some strategic things that the brand is doing to increase the conversions on their site or the number of people that are checking out? How are they increasing their average order value? Are they running any sales? What apps are they using? We actually have a tool where we can see all of the different Shopify apps and sites that they are running on the back end. And finally, the traffic. Where are they driving their traffic from? How are they physically getting people to their site? Because this isn't a marketplace. What ad strategies are they using? What does their copy look like? What's their creative look like? Are they using real human like mock-up photos, or is it just a lay flat of a t-shirt or their product? What offers are they running in their ads? These are all important things to take note of because they're all things that we could potentially test and try out on our own brands. So without further ado, let's dive into the customer journey of Umai. As I said, Umai has been around for a few years. It was actually started by 2 co-founders, Ryan and Ivan. So very interesting story. Ryan actually had run a few e-commerce brands and sold them. And he was trying to figure out what was the next thing that he truly wanted to do. And it was interesting because his style kind of changed and shifted. He wanted to go into something that he could run long-term, that he could see himself really building and growing over a few years rather than trying to ramp up sales and then eventually exit. And he teamed up with Ivan because Ivan is actually an artist. Ryan had all of this e-commerce knowledge already and had gone through a sale. So he knew the analytics, he knew how to drive the traffic, versus Ivan was really the creative. He was going to be the person who was going to give Umai a different twist than any other type of Japanese anime clothing that's out on the market. Now, you're probably wondering, how in the heck did I come across this brand in the first place? And it's a great question. I actually like to look at different blogs and sites, specifically on print-on-demand platforms. So Printify and Printful both have information about this on their sites. They do blogs with successful sellers, etc. That's actually how I stumbled across Umai. They are plastered really all over Printful. So you can tell like this brand is clearly clearly doing really well, and also just doing some really interesting things because the fact they are getting so much attention from Printful. They are involved in Printful's enterprise program. So Printful was able to do a full breakdown of their brand. They do like an entire study on it, and they actually found that $62.70 was the average order value, which is kind of crazy. I always aim for about a $45 average order value. So $62.70 was their average order value. It was a 14% increase by implementing some of the suggestions that Printful made. They had $130,000 in monthly sales, which was a 30% increase. So they did an extra $30,000 in sales after Printful did their entire case study and made suggestions to them. And they had an 11% conversion rate, which to me is just absolutely mind-blowing. I always aim for a 3%, like around a 3 to a 5 is like great in my eyes, but they have clearly tapped into some really interesting stuff because they had an 11% conversion rate, which was an 8% increase. Absolutely wild. I think that's some of the coolest parts about doing these breakdowns is truly getting to see, because clearly they've implemented these changes. They've seen it through the study that there were these increases. And now I get to come in and kind of look at it and go, okay, what actual things were changed potentially that led to this increase in their conversion rate? And how can I then adapt that to my own brand so that I can increase my conversion rate from, a 3% to an 11%? After I do my simple Google search, I start with traffic, and I typically will start with SimilarWeb. SimilarWeb will give us the breakdown of really where is their traffic coming from. So interestingly, the majority of their traffic is coming from Instagram and then from YouTube. So probably like Google ads and then Facebook. So Instagram and Facebook are probably driving their traffic from ads. And then YouTube is basically Google ads. But that's where the majority of their traffic is coming from. And interestingly enough, that's where the majority of my source traffic comes as well. So it just shows we're getting people to our site the exact same way. We are using paid ads via Facebook ads and Google ads to get people to our site. So it's always good to run this because I find it interesting to find where the majority of people are coming from. And then from there, I can look into those different areas and kind of pinpoint, okay, what are they doing differently? Is there anything that I can add in now to how I'm driving my traffic to continue to get people to the site? So because the majority of people are coming from Instagram and Facebook, I like to start there then. Typically we'll go to Facebook ads first because it runs ads on both the Facebook platform and Instagram platform. So it's kind of like a combined. And as you can see, their ads are very, very simple. Nothing really is standing out as crazy. They're doing this buy two, get two free offer on their ads, which is definitely interesting to see because basically buy two shirts, get two shirts. So I'm interested to see what they're charging on their site because to me, it just seems like that would kind of be like a break even. But we'll dive into it. We'll see how much they are charging their t-shirts for, especially because they said the average order value was $67, which I'm just trying to think of like on my site, how much I price my t-shirts and how much I'm able to get them for on Printify. My margin just wouldn't be that much. So interesting things to think about. I also think something interesting that's standing out as I'm going through and looking at all these ads, not necessarily the simplicity of the design, but something that I'm seeing is that it's very monochromatic. So it's either like one color, like really a black design or a white design. And then there's like an extra color in there, whether that be a red or a purple. And honestly, it makes the designs really stand out and look different. I think the designs actually look really well. I'm not specifically an anime person, so I wouldn't say like, oh, I would buy from this site, but I definitely find it interesting. Something that I do like is at the bottom, you can see 5 stars and over 2,000 reviews. So that alone just kind of helps right off the bat of like, okay, they've been around for a while. This is a trusted brand. This is definitely something that I feel safe with checking out on. A lot of times I think we'll get hit with kind of random ads and it's like, oh, like, is this a trustworthy site? I don't know. Which if you haven't been around for a few years, that's completely fine. You don't need to like, I wouldn't make up that I have all these reviews, but you can say like satisfaction guaranteed, like 100% satisfaction guaranteed. And that's like a trust builder as well. Cause it's basically saying like, hey, like we are going to take care of our customer. So I think it's really creative that they actually include that in their ad. Now moving on from Facebook ads, another way that they drive traffic to their site is through Instagram. And they have 161,000 Instagram followers, which is pretty amazing. They basically just take their designs and put them in their feed. Something that's interesting that stood out to me is that they do a weekly exclusive. So for 1 week, they will sell one design, similar to like a drop. So this actually encourages urgency. And it's not something that I actually do on my brand. So I find that to be really interesting and something that I'm taking note of. And I also included Ivan's Instagram account as well. So Ivan, the guy who is making all the creative, he is the artist behind the brand. He has his own basically Instagram for his artwork, and he has over 30,000 followers there as well. So he could actually be sending people from his Instagram to the site as well. As we saw, Google was a very big way of driving traffic as well. We were able to find them on like Google's ad library. Again, very simple ads. They have 18 of them running. Pinterest as well. They have a couple hundred followers, nothing significant. So I wouldn't think that really much traffic is coming from Pinterest. Now, this is something that I see in brands from time to time is like they'll try out other sales channels, and it's nothing against them. I've done it in the past as well because I've like thought, I'm like, oh, well, if I start Pinterest, like that could bring really cheap traffic this way. And it ends up just being kind of a split focus. And I kind of see that across these other brands too. Like they'll try TikTok, they'll try doing shorts, they'll try Pinterest, and they don't see like significant traction with it. And then it kind of just turns into like, we'll ditch this. Like maybe we'll come back to it at some point, maybe not. I don't know. So really interesting here that Umai did try Pinterest, but again, not a huge following. And then finally, we have this kind of like other YouTube/articles. So because the fact that they are mentioned by Printful is a huge company. A lot of people could have found out about their brand through these different articles that they're featured in. It's definitely interesting to me. I'm now signed up for their emails so that I can learn more about the brand and everything and really how they are speaking to their customer. But having these articles could be another way that they are getting people to their site. Again, I don't think it's anything significant, but it's getting their name out there and it's gaining that brand awareness. And then finally, marketplaces. So something that was interesting that I came across actually with my ChatGPT search, doing a deep research of the brand, I actually found they worked with Shopperboard, which is actually a Singapore brand, where they worked out some sort of deal where they did like this exclusive drop. So they only had 500 t-shirts of this one design, and they had a couple drops actually with them, but it was like all set up the same way. And basically they went through and it was like, hey, this is a limited stock. So you had the urgency and that was it. And it like sold out. So I found that interesting that there are a few different Shopperboard, I don't know if you'd call it like a campaign, but basically a drop where it was like an exclusive drop only here. And that was another way that they got their name out there. So I don't see that quite often, but I definitely like the idea of drops because you get that exclusivity and that urgency that so many brands thrive off of. So now that we've looked at all that traffic, we now then get sent to the site. And I like to break up really the site into two different sections. I like to look at it on mobile, and I also like to look at it on desktop. And now I'm sure there's a lot of people who are sitting there like, well, really, what's like the biggest difference? Like, who cares? But there is a huge difference when it comes to e-commerce, specifically if we're running paid ads, because we have to think about it. Majority of people are scrolling on this guy right here. They are on Facebook or they're on Instagram and they get hit with our ad. So they click it and they go to our site. So the majority of our traffic is on mobile. So it's super important that we have our site optimized for mobile because that's how majority of people are going to actually check out. So if our mobile site is a hot mess, there's big gaps in space and it's not easy to navigate, people are going to leave. I think something early on, I was kind of naive. I was like, well, they'll figure it out. No, people don't just figure it out. They actually have like the attention span of squirrels now because of social media, in fact. So we need to basically make it as easy and as simple and straightforward as possible for somebody to navigate our site specifically on mobile. Because if it's frustrating, if they're coming up to some sort of roadblock, they are leaving. It's not going to be worth their time. So I always like to start looking really at the mobile side of things and seeing what are they doing differently there? Are there things that I could potentially adapt to my mobile site, etc.? But before we get into the mobile optimization of their site. Remember earlier on, I was talking about a tool that would let us see kind of the back end apps and different things that they're using to run their site. And that whole breakdown is actually right here. And the tool is called Builtwith. So you can just Google Builtwith. It'll pop up. You basically just throw in the URL that you're looking for, and it'll give you a breakdown, as you can see, of all of the different things that they're using to run this site. So it's really interesting. And this is another way that you can tell if a company is in fact a print-on-demand company, because it'll show either Printful or Printify or one of the other print-on-demand suppliers right in this Builtwith breakdown, so that you can fully feel comfortable knowing like, okay, this is actually a print-on-demand brand. Not that it changes anything. Really, print-on-demand to me it's just the fulfillment of it. It's how are they actually getting their t-shirt or whatever product they're selling out to their customer. It's not necessarily something that we can go like, oh, well, if it's not print on demand, it's not worth doing a funnel breakdown. No, like we can do a funnel breakdown on any brand. It's always helpful. It's just cool to know that, okay, their fulfillment is being handled by print on demand, and look at all the things that we could potentially do with our brand as well. So let's dive into the site optimization. So as you can see, all the different mobile areas, the first list of, I kind of just went down and kept scrolling through and taking screenshots of everything. This is their homepage. So as you can see, it's very cohesive. I think sometimes homepages can feel a little overwhelming and just have almost too much information that you feel like I don't know what to click or what to do. But Umai does a really nice job of having interesting things on their homepage, but without overwhelming the customer. I kind of like that they only have one product on the homepage of like the t-shirt. Like it's not side by side. There's not 15 different products and you're just like, I don't even know where to start. I think it's very clean, and you can tell right off the bat that they like to use black and white and typically a color to pop. And I think that really helps their designs stand out, because really the only place that you're getting any color from the site is in their designs. From the homepage, I then like to check out their collection pages. As you can see, they do side by side on the collection page, and they have that little tiny add to cart button in the bottom right-hand corner that I think is really interesting. I've never seen one that way. I like that it's not, typically I see it as like a bar and it'll be like add to cart, and then you click it and it's like a huge like spreadsheet shows up almost, and you have to click the exact variant that you want. I just like how subtle this one is. Like it's not just like add to cart and taking up so much space. It's actually using kind of dead space on the collection page, and it's offering something that some people may like and some people may enjoy, but it's not too much and it's not in your face. Again, we're seeing not a ton of colors. They offer a few colors of their t-shirts. Some, it seems like only one color. But again, the designs are standing out to me because that's really the only place where you're getting any color on this site. They have a nice banner at the top where they're showing the offer that they're running, the buy two, get two shirts, which is important because they're running that in their ads. So it'd be really confusing as a shopper if you landed on their page and you're like, wait, what happened to that buy two shirts, get two shirts free thing? Like I thought that's what we were going with. So it's great that they were cohesive with that. And then looking at the product page, super clean. I like that the reviews are right under the title, because the fact people are going to want to look at those reviews. They want to know that this is a trustworthy site. And some people want to look at the pictures and see like, hey, let's see how this shirt fits. Is this something that I would want? Speaking of fit, it's interesting that they don't have a size chart on their page. So it kind of makes you unsure, like, I'm not sure what size I should actually pick. So I'm not sure if the button here, the buy two, get two, is potentially like blocking where a size chart would potentially be. But I find it interesting that they don't have one. Very clean that all of the sizes small through 3XL are all in one line. The fact that it's not, small through large and then, taking up multiple lines on the phone, that's going to save a lot of space. Our goal is always to have the add to cart button as high up on the page as possible, because we want people to click that. That's ultimately the goal. If you click that, you're going to buy from me. So we're always optimizing for people to click that add to cart button. And as you scroll down, they then give you recently viewed, other people may have liked, here's our best sellers, whatever it may be. So they give you lots of options for other products that they have, which is definitely taking a note out of Amazon's book. If you are on any Amazon product page, try scrolling down and finding the reviews and count how many lines of products that Amazon is showing you. They do that on purpose. So we I definitely try to emulate that a little bit, not like 25 different lines of t-shirts. That would be absolutely crazy. But I definitely try to do at least 2 lines before they get to my reviews. And they also offer some stickers as well. So something that's a little bit different from my brand. I only offer apparel, but they're doing apparel. They have stickers. And we'll get into something else that's very interesting that Umai is doing. Their reviews are displayed really nicely. At the bottom, they're pretty clean. And again, it goes along with the same branding. It's that black, white, and then they have the yellow star standing out. So it's enough to catch your eye, but it's not like too much that it's like, oh, this just like doesn't fit or work. They have a slide out bar that comes out and they have lots of upsells. Now, something that's interesting that I want to show you is right here on the cart. They have this 4K desktop wallpaper upsell. So they're charging $299 for it, but I think it's pretty amazing. Like I've never seen a brand do this, and it's something that I am definitely interested in learning more about and potentially doing on my brand. So something that was really easy that they did was they just created wallpapers for your computer. You probably do it on Canva. Heck, you probably do it with ChatGPT now. Just give like a very detailed explanation of what you want, what this background could look like to go along with your niche. And it's a simple upsell. It's something that you get 100% of the margin of. There's no fulfillment of it. You can immediately send it to your customer and they automatically get it. So it's like you don't have to wait for your order almost. So I love the idea of it. It's definitely something that I am going to look into for my brand, but something that is so, so smart. And then we can go over and look at the desktop. So desktop is pretty similar to mobile in the way that you get the same vibe. Now, instead of just 2 shirts, they're showing 4 shirts across on the desktop pages. But again, the only thing that's truly popping out at me is the design, which I think is super important. The design is the most important part of any like apparel brand, and it really does catch your eye. And they have great navigation on the left-hand side, making it super easy for people to filter and find exactly what they want. Again, similar cart, it's just a drawer pops out from the side, and ultimately they are a single step checkout. So I find that interesting too. I always tell people to test out a single page checkout as well as a 3-page and test and see which ones convert better. For some reason, a 3-page converts better on my store, but for others, a 1-page converts better. So I think it's just interesting to kind of dive into and get a better idea about everything. So now that we've gone through the desktop, we can then look at kind of like others. This is where I like to put email marketing, other kind of creative things that they're doing. We already know about their upsell that they're doing in the cart, which I think is just pure gold. The next thing that I like to look at is email. Typically, I'll look at milled.com. It's a great resource if you're trying to find emails that brands send. So like if you're somebody like you want to make a store about sports stuff, like you could look up Nike and find Nike's emails that they send people and really dissect them. Look at the subject lines, look at the voice that they're using to kind of help you adapt some of that into your own emails. Unfortunately, Umai was not on milled.com, so I wasn't able to like go back and see a bunch of emails that they send, but I was able to sign up for their email, which is right here. I had to scroll all the way to the bottom. They actually didn't have an email pop-up, which I found so interesting because email is such an easy way to increase your profitability. I would say the majority of our profit now, like on months that we really crush it, so much of that is from email because it's a lot cheaper to send an email to our list than it is to acquire new customers constantly through Facebook ads. So definitely, I just found it interesting that there was no pop-up. But as you can see, the emails are very, very similar to their site. White and black. And really the only things that are popping off color-wise are the designs and the designs in their review image. So overall, very clean. I was actually surprised that the brand voice wasn't more tailored towards anime in some way. Like I'm not an anime watcher, so maybe there isn't really quite a voice, but in my mind, I feel like anime would have some sort of brand kind of voice. But maybe that's just me. I'm not that versed with anime style stuff. So another thing that I ended up finding that Umai does is they have this thing called Umai Plus, and it's pretty much a membership where you pay this monthly membership or a yearly membership, and then you are given like credits. So the way that Umai runs it, it's $10 per month. So every month they're going to charge $10. You're going to get $10 in monthly credits. So even though you're spending $10, you're getting the $10 right back as store credit. You'll also get 20% off of all their products, free shipping on every order, and access to past exclusives. So this is something that's interesting. Since they run exclusives and drops sometimes, you get access to those older designs. So if you're somebody who's super passionate about anime, I find this to be really interesting. There are some areas that are member-only product access. So if you're not a member of Umai Plus, you simply cannot check out with that product. And then you get 10% cash back for all of your orders over $100. So it kind of it seems like a no-brainer. But the most interesting part about this is the only way that the brand is basically like losing or spending that $10 is if the customer comes back and actually utilizes that. So think about how many times, we've probably all got a gym membership and we all go, I'm going to go to the gym this month. And, it just keeps charging. The gym has probably gotten, $1,000 from you over the past year, but you haven't canceled it. And the same thing kind of applies here. So they're making it a no-brainer for you to sign up, but it really is on the user to utilize that membership. So I think it's something that's really smart. This is definitely a way to increase, if you're somebody that wants to potentially sell your print-on-demand brand down the line, it is a way to increase the valuation of your brand because it's recurring revenue. So I think it's really smart. I'd definitely be interested in learning more about how exactly they're running this, like what kind of software especially, but I think it's super interesting. And I haven't seen really any other brands do this. So I loved it. They also do have an ambassador program, which is great for, user generated content. I do have one on my brand as well. And it does pretty decent. I don't ask people to post on social media or anything like that, but they can send, their code out to friends and family and they will get a kickback from that, which pretty much for me, it's like the same investment as if I were paying Facebook for Facebook ads and getting people to the site. It pretty much costs me the same amount that it would cost to advertise. So for me, it's definitely an easy, no-brainer. But this was kind of how they set up that subscription model. And then they go in with different questions. So overall, I think just super interesting. And then finally, before we wrap up, we'll take a look at the reviews. Now, they have over 2,000 reviews, 4.7 total stars. So they get a lot of really positive reviews. So overall, I would trust purchasing from this brand. Something that did come up in the search was sometimes there are issues with shipping and slower shipping speeds and everything. And something that they pointed out was that Ryan really gets ahead of the game and makes sure that he's keeping his customers in the loop. So even if something is taking longer, he is forefront with his customers about it. And he tells them about hey, your order's taking a little bit longer than usual. Absolutely no need to worry. We're going to make sure that we take care of this for you. And a lot of times that's what customers are looking for. They just don't want to feel like they're getting taken advantage of. Unfortunately, there's, I think, a lot of people out there that have scammed people on Facebook with Facebook ads. So you kind of have to overcome that, especially if you are a newer brand. So you definitely just want to make sure that you're taking care of your customer. And something that, Ryan has showed and I've seen in my own brand is that having more open communication with your customer is only going to lead to good things. If we're not replying to people, they're getting mad. That's just going to open up things for chargebacks and other issues. So I feel like Ryan and Ivan are doing an awesome job with this brand. I find it to be super interesting. So if you made it this far in the video, I hope that you got a ton of value by going through Umai's funnel breakdown with me, seeing the types of ads that they're running, how exactly they're getting customers to their site. And then from there, how are they guiding people through the buying process and actually checking out? Hopefully you found some of the interesting little tidbits that I pointed out helpful and things that you could potentially add to your brand. Overall, again, I don't think it matters that Umai is a print on demand brand. I just think it's interesting to see these big brands that are out there that are fulfilling with print on demand. I think a lot of times there's almost like this stigma around print on demand of like, oh, it can only be a side hustle or it'll never be like a big brand. But honestly, I think it's just super interesting that we've kind of put that stigma on print on demand to begin with, because really, it truly is only the fulfillment model. If anything, it's always better for us because we don't have to pay for inventory. I don't need to learn how to print shirts. So I think it's super interesting. I loved the breakdown. Hopefully you guys loved it too. If you're interested in these kinds of breakdowns and diving into brands, I would highly, highly suggest joining my free school community. That's linked in the description below. There we have 51 hours of course material. You'll get access to this mirror board if you're interested in it. You'll be able to go through this entire deep dive and look at the mirror board, go back to it time and time again as you're building your brand. And yeah, let me know if you enjoyed this type of content. If so, please leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. It would absolutely mean the world to me. Thanks, guys.